Hello, stupid.
Hello, Sanya.
Hi, Tama. How are you today?
I'm good, thanks. How are you?
I'm good. We're doing
Yeah.
an early record today. But
For you, yeah, it's super early.
but I slept like super early last night. So
You did?
yeah.
Okay,
Yeah. I
good.
think I fell asleep by like 9.
Oh my god, that
And
is
then
early.
and then we woke up at 6:30. So
Oh wow, okay.
I'm
Not
well
bad.
rested.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I tossed and turned all night, and it's my turn to read complicated notes, so we'll see how it goes, but I'm sure we'll be fine.
You'll be fine.
Yeah. What's new? What's up? What's going on with you?
Um, Not much. Enjoying the season we're in.
Stop. No.
um, no, but just been working, relaxing,
You've been to
cleaning.
a big music festival recently.
I did, yeah. There's a music festival here. It's called Faded in the Park, and some really cool DJs that I like were performing, like Diplo, John Summit, Chris Lake. It was super fun. Elderbrook was there too. You love Elderbrook.
Yeah, I love Elderbrook. I know. I was so excited to hear that you went. I think dancing to electronic music outdoors in the summer is like one of my favorite feelings in the world.
I know. You know what? You're totally right. And it's so funny because I feel like I don't listen to that music in the winter because I'm like, it
Yeah,
reminds me of being outdoors.
right? Yeah. I know what you mean.
Yeah, my music taste changed with the season. But yeah, exactly. I love little festivals in the summertime when you're outside and it's so hot and like, yeah,
It's
you're just
just so
dancing in the sun.
euphoric, you know?
Yeah, and you're going to one in a couple months, weeks.
A couple of weeks, yeah, we're going to Oshiaga, which is not so electronic. It's a bunch of pop artists, but Elderbrook's going to be there also. So I guess he's like touring Canada. He's doing the festivals or whatnot.
Yeah,
So I'm excited to see Elderbrook.
that would be
And
so
then we're going to
fun.
see Chapo Rowan, and we're going to see Rene Rapp.
Yeah. I'm excited for you to see Renee Rapp too.
Yeah, me too.
I
Yeah.
wonder what she's gonna be like. I don't think I've even seen videos of her like performing.
Well, I didn't seek them out. I'm sure there is, but I didn't see anything either.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And then it's going to be Pride, a lot more of dancing. So that's going to be exciting too.
Yeah, a busy couple of months of summer coming up.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna
Um,
be exhausted and grumpy in August, but
yeah, you have like a weekend where you have like 6 events.
not six. Well, yeah,
I think 6.
I think
Yeah.
it's six.
Insane. I could never.
Stop! I don't want to think about it.
But it's also gonna be such a fun weekend. You just need like 4 to 5 days to recuperate.
Yeah, and I'm gonna pace myself. You know, we're not gonna go hard on every event, but it's yeah, it's gonna be a challenge.
Yeah. All right, shall we go into my icebreaker this week? I'm
Let's
really
do it.
excited.
Okay.
I saw it as a TikTok.
Oh.
Um, and I'm going off book, guys. And I was like, this is gonna be such a good icebreaker. And I think the TikTok says like best icebreaker. So you know how like Jesus, his like body is a cracker and his like blood is
I think I saw
wine,
that. That's really good. Okay.
right?
Yeah.
I think that's what the pessimism is of it.
Yeah.
That's what the TikTok said.
Yeah.
So if you could have your body as a food and your blood as a drink, what would it be?
I love that. That's so good. Um. Okay. My body would be. Do you know about this Quebec meal called pâté chinois?
Uh, yeah, it's shepherd's pie,
It's
right?
shepherd's pie, but with cream corn between the potato and the meat. It's
Oh,
really good. Yeah. So it would be that like shepherd pies with corn.
all right.
And then just classic gin soda.
Yeah?
Yeah,
Nice.
yeah.
Nice. I like it. I'm here for it.
I mean, worshipping me would be a blast. You're welcome, all of my disciples. You get to eat shepherd's pie and drink gin soda.
Yeah.
What about you?
It's funny because it's not even like a pairing, and
No.
that's what I love about it. It'd be like something that you're eating like outdoors with a gin soda, but it's a pie, so it's like
You
not
know
really an
what?
outdoor
I
meal.
contain multitudes, okay?
That's so funny. All right, for me, and I was thinking of this as I was telling you were talking because I was like, wait, I didn't even think of my answer,
Mm.
but I think I'm gonna go with like garlic naan.
Ooh, yum.
So my body would be garlic naan. Um, and then does it have to be an alcoholic beverage, you think?
It doesn't have to be anything you don't want it to be.
Okay, you know what? I'll do tequila soda with lime.
Does it have to be alcoholic? Actually, you know what? You all get knocked out. Like, you're going to get wasted. Tequila
I was
soda with lime.
I was gonna
That's
do
good, though.
just sparkling water, but then I was like, you know what? No, let's have a little kick to it because that's who I am. I'm
Yeah,
kidding.
yeah. A little kick. For sure. Yeah. Um, Fun. Perfect. I like that. Also, not, well, I guess it's a better pairing. Yeah, you know what? Garlic naan would be great, like, bar food when you're drinking.
Oh my god, yeah, with like hummus to like dip in,
Oh, I'm
and like
so
a
hungry now.
chutney on the side. Oh my god.
Right? Ugh. Okay,
Let's
let's do
start a
this so we
bar
can
with
go
these
eat.
pairings. Yeah.
Wonderful. Well, should we dive right in?
I'm so excited for what you have this week.
Yeah, I'm excited too. Okay, well, to ease us in, how about you tell us in your words how you would describe utopia?
Everyone's like happy, everyone's just like working cohesively together. It's like
So, say you had to like build one for yourself, what would it be?
okay, my utopia.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Ooh. So clearly garlic naan and gin sorry, tequila sodas everywhere.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
But I
That's a
think it'd be
must.
like cute little like tiny homes.
Ooh,
Everyone has tiny homes, but they're very cute and like functional. Like you have what you need. Also
yeah.
like with like a hot tub or sauna in the back.
Oh, yeah.
Um
Oh, yeah.
yeah. And and that's all about it. No, I guess like everyone has like, you know, their dream job. Everyone rides like walks to work. No cars. Everyone walks everywhere. But it's like
Cute.
easy to walk. It's not torture to walk.
What's the weather like?
Ooh, it would be like 24 degrees
Year long.
year long and sunny. But the sun sets by like 5.
Oh, long evenings.
Yeah. Because I like it when it goes dark. I kind of like the one thing about summer is like, why is it bright the whole time? I'm over the sun. I want to go to bed now.
5 is early though. I feel like 7 is a good like sundown time.
Okay, 6.
All right, it's your utopia. You do what you want.
Yeah, I'll say 6. Yeah, you're right. 5 is early. Let's do 6.
I mean, you had me at garlic now, so.
And then also like mid work, like you like your work day is like whatever time, but you have to have like everyone naps and like goes home for lunch from like
Why do
noon
people work
till
at
3.
all?
Because you need something, you know, like you go crazy if you don't work.
Interesting.
It'd be like fun hobbies,
Interesting.
you know.
Right. Everyone sells craft at the fair.
Exactly.
All right. Well, today we are going to discuss utopic living conditions, specifically for mice. We're going to see how they react and how they thrive in such an environment. More specifically, we're going to talk about John Calhoun's popular research on animal behavior and social density called Universe 25.
Oh,
Hmm.
I like the last name,
Calhoun?
Calhoun.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
had to like YouTube how to pronounce it. Pretty sure it's Calhoun. but they might all be wrong on YouTube also.
Yeah.
Okay, so Universe 25 is a popular scientific experiment with mice led by the ethologist John Calhoun in 1972. So, ethology is the study of animal behavior.
Okay.
Never heard of it before.
Yeah, me neither.
The experiment consisted of creating a utopic living environment for mice and see how the society would develop through it. So, to start, let's break down the experiment and the observations. Well, not to start, it's going to be most of the episode, but let's break down the
Yeah.
experiment and the observation. To start, how do you build a utopia for mice, right? So Calhoun started by identifying the five major factors of mortality. And I'll list them for you here. Okay, so you have,
Mice mortality.
I think it's mortality in animals in general.
Why are we struggling saying mortality so
Right?
much?
It's not a hard one. We've said way harder words throughout the history of this podcast,
Yeah.
but not successfully.
Yeah.
All right. So first, you have territory dispute and immigration. So following competition for who gets the best resource and the best breeding spots, animals are forced to move away to worse habitat and have the animals, sorry, who are forced to move away to worse habitats have a higher mortality rate. So, uh, you might think of immigration of leaving a place where there's a lot of people competing for the same resource to a place where there's no one competing for the same resource. But in most cases, uh, the animals that are forced to leave will have a hard time finding adequate resource and have a higher mortality rate.
Interesting.
They also don't have a society to help them like uh,
Thrive.
yeah, thrive and defend them and take care of each other, right? So that's a big one. Then there's the case of not enough resources. So limited food, water, shelter can weaken animals and make survival difficult. Then you have weather extremes. So harsh condition can kill animals directly or make them more vulnerable and weak. Disease outbreak. So epidemics, basically. And finally, predators. So being hunted is a natural threat for wild animals. So these were the problems that Calhoun had to solve in order to create his utopia. Very simple to solve. So for immigration, what he did, he created an area that's closed off by 54 inches walls. The walls were structured in a way that mice could still use them for nesting to increase the effective use of the area, but they could not climb over the walls. Then for resources, the mice lived in a large enclosure called cells. Sorry, in large enclosures called cells. And each of the cells had a specific wall configuration with features and design to comfortably house many, many mice. Food, many, many mice. Sorry, I keep putting S's at the end of mice. No, it's mice is already the
Yeah,
plural of
yeah,
mouse, right?
sorry. Mouse, mice. Yeah. Oh my god,
Right?
yeah.
Food and water were readily available, and researchers calculated how many mice could eat or drink at once at the same spot of food or water. And there was plenty of nesting material as well. And food, water, and shelter were provided in amounts that were far beyond what the mice would typically need in the wild. So, abundance of resource. There was also enough nesting boxes for every mouse to have a spot if they wanted. But interestingly, they would gather many of them like into the same plate and leave a lot of the houses empty. Right. I'll touch into the rest of the behavior, but that was just a quick note on that one that was interesting. Okay, next one is weather. So for the weather conditions during cooler month, the temperature was maintained. Well, it was all inside, right? It was all indoors, the whole enclosure. So for cooler months, the temperature was maintained to around 20 degrees Celsius. And for warmer month, large exhaust fan kept the temperature mostly within 21 to 32 degrees Celsius.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. And
That's a
then,
huge difference, 21 to 32.
well, I think they still wanted to mimic some sort of season,
Okay.
but without having,
Cater to
uh,
all the mice.
yeah,
Maybe one
exactly.
likes a warmer.
Exactly. um, which I think if I had to do a utopia for myself, there would still be seasons. There would be nice seasons, but there would still be seasons.
What would your ideal weather be? Like weather range.
5 to 26.
5,
Yeah, I like to wear a cute jacket in the fall.
I guess. I think mine would be 18 to 24.
Okay.
No difference really, but by 18 I'll need a sweater.
Again, the mice were indoors, so they were shielded from rain, and there was air movement also. Oh, sorry, my phone was off. That's my alarm. They were shielded from rain also. Sorry, and there was air movement to cool down the mice during the hotter spells. So a little
Okay.
breeze, a nice comfortable breeze.
Yeah. Cute little mice.
Yeah.
I'm imagining them pink.
Pink? Why would it be
Like you know
pink?
how like their noses and hands are
Oh, like
very
the pink eye and like the
yeah.
nose. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Probably. Usually, lab mice are like that, right?
Yeah.
For disease control, the mice were bulb C albino mouses. Oh, they were probably pink because they were albino mouse.
Oh, albino?
Um, albino, sorry. Albino house mice, specifically bred to be healthy. You're,
Oh.
you're Googling them?
Yeah. Oh, they're very pink.
They are?
Yeah. Like I mean like sorry, like their eyes and nose and hands. They're white other than that.
All right.
You said B6 albino mice?
Mm-hmm.
I'll just have a picture of it here for me to
Are they
give
cute?
context. Yeah, I think so.
Maybe don't get too attached.
Turns
Just
into a dystopia.
so they came from the National Institute of Health, from breeding colonies. There was measures taken to prevent outbreaks like salmonella, and even though the mice were housed together, test confirms the absence of harmful bacteria in the population's peak density. So they were tested regularly to make sure there was no bacteria emerging. And then to further minimize disease risk, the nesting material and accumulated feces were removed from the enclosure every 4 to 8 weeks.
Oh wow. 48 weeks is long though.
Well, I think they don't want to intervene as they want to intervene as little as they can, but they just want to make sure like trash doesn't accumulate too much.
True,
And
yeah.
it was a big enclosure, so yeah.
Yeah.
And then finally for predators, well, they just didn't introduce any predators, so there was no predators.
Yeah. That sounds like a utopia.
Right? Sounds nice, right?
Yeah. That's cute.
Um, how do you think mice would react in that environment?
They'd be happy, they'd be breeding a lot, but I think they get bored.
Right. Well, let's find out.
Yeah.
So, with the utopia now created, it was time to introduce mice to the area. They started with 40, so 8 mice, 48 days old. So, 4 male and 4 female. So, four pairs of mice.
Yeah.
Um, and then the observation began. So, in the report I read, they were categorized into phases. So you have phase A, which was the adjustment period. So with the utopia now created, it was time to introduce the mice to the area. I already said that. Their first 104 days were marked by social tension as the mice were adjusting to each other in the new environment. Um, After the initial adjustment, the population grew rapidly, doubling in size every 55 days.
Wow.
Hmm.
Oh, so they weren't like bringing more mice in phases. It's just
Nope,
that
just
those
those
48
initial eight.
mice, or sorry, 8 were reproducing.
Yeah. So here we're starting phase B, the expansional growth. So they were doubling in phase every 55, doubling in size every 55 days, and this phase lasted until there was roughly 620 mice.
Oh my God.
Yeah. After reaching 620 mice, the growth rate slowed significantly, with doubling time increasing to about 145 days. So after 620, it would take 145 days for them to double in size rather than 55.
Oh my God.
The experiment was designed to allow young mice to mature and reproduce within the enclosure, leading to a faster population increase because the young mice would also, the new generation would quickly begin reproducing as well. So births weren't evenly distributed in the enclosure. Some of the areas had many births and other had few births, which was interesting. The mice formed social groups called brood groups in specific areas. So I didn't describe this properly earlier, but it was kind of a big, imagine like a big circle, the area, and with like pizza points throughout it, right? And each of the pizza points at the end of it is kind of like a different area, like a different
Okay.
housing area.
Okay.
So the researchers observed a surprising pattern. Most of the reproductive groups, so the groups that were reproducing successfully, because the mice started gathering into social groups, and the groups that were reproducing successfully, the most successfully, uh, took home at opposite side of the area.
Oh, okay. So it's kind of like gangs almost?
Well, they were creating kind of a mirror image, but they were
Oh,
basically at the furthest possible point from each other,
okay.
right at the two other ends of the circle.
Yeah.
Um, that suggests that the mice have been trying to organize themselves in a specific way, right? Some bird groups were more successful than other, producing more youngs. So the researcher ranked the groups based on productivity, with number one being the most productive and 14 the least. And the number of young born in a group is seen as an indicator of the social status. So high productivity suggests a dominant group. So the groups that are able to produce the most young were the ones held in higher status.
Okay.
So the researchers compared this ranking to how male mice typically establish dominance. The most dominant male is usually the most sexually active, and this activity level decreases as social status goes down. So that's how they establish social status, is based on how they would usually establish dominance,
Yeah.
right? So each brood group had a dominant male associated to it, and these male claimed territories within the enclosure, with some overlap in the center. The researchers believe that both the symmetry distribution of the group and the social hierarchy help the mice organize themselves to efficiently use the available resources. So the way that they organized their groups and the position where they established themselves was meant to be efficient with the resources, and this contributed even more to the rapid population explosion. By the end of phase B, all the prime space in the enclosure were occupied by these organized social groups. So around the feeders mostly and around the housing. And there were many more young mice than there were adults. So there was about 470 young mice for 150 adults.
Oh my God.
So it was like a baby boom.
Yeah.
And this is because the young mice weren't dying at a normal rate due to lack of predators and abundance of resource,
Oh, okay. Yeah.
right?
Because in the
So
wild, they'll reproduce, like, say, 10 mice, and then, four of them would be killed. So they're left with
yeah,
six. But now it's like everyone's flourishing.
yeah. But also in our society as humans, when we have a period of time of abundance, and of wealth, it often comes with and of peace. It often come followed by a baby boom.
Oh. Oh, I didn't know that. I mean, it
Yeah,
makes sense, but I didn't put that together.
if I'm not mistaken, I think that's what happened with the baby boomers, and I think that's what happened with Gen Z as well.
Gen Z's right now.
Yeah, well, Gen
They're having
X,
babies?
no, but Gen Z is a big group
Oh,
of,
that's how Gen Z's were produced. Oh,
yeah.
okay.
I
We're not
think
a
so.
product of that.
I might be completely wrong on this, so
Yeah.
don't quote me on that.
Um, Wait, question. So, and I don't know if you would know this, but are they increasing the food as the population grows then?
There's always enough food for them.
Okay.
It's like resource is never a problem,
Okay.
right?
Because it's a
So
utopia.
yes, yeah, yeah. Like I don't know if they needed to increase it or they started initially with enough for that population,
Yeah.
but resource is never a problem. So the takeaway from phase B is that the population grew very quickly at first, but then this slowed down as space became limited. The mice in Universe 25 developed a complex social structure with brood groups, dominant males, and hierarchy. The social organization helped them utilize resources efficiently and led to a population boom. And the lack of natural limitations on death rates in this artificial environment caused an unusual age distribution at much higher proportion of young mice. All right, so far so good.
So good.
Still doesn't sound too bad, right?
Not at all. It sounds sick. I wish there was a mice
Um,
in that enclosure.
I I don't want to jump the gun too much, but I am a little to tell you that some of the main critics of the experiment was that people compare results too closely to human society, like I just did.
Yeah.
Naturally, right? It's very tempting to do. Um, so and I think especially this segment, it's easy to see how it's hard not to anthropomorphize, I think is the term, right? To
I don't, e-
project humanity onto animals.
I don't even know that word existed. Can you
Oh,
repeat that for me?
let me Google it first to make sure I have it right.
Entropy. What?
Antro- Anthropomorphic, yeah, anthropomorphize,
Anthropomorphize. And
relating to or characterized by a explanation of animal behavior, like to give human characteristic to animals.
okay,
Mhm.
anthropomorphize.
So it's a term that's being used, like it's a lot of um for example, like when you're like, oh no, don't put the cow in the enclosure, can't you see its face is sad and stuff like that. But I mean,
It's
there's
drawing
also there's also
parallels.
there's also a lot of research on animal emotions saying that animals do have a wide range of emotions and do have stress and stuff like that. So but it's drawing parallels basically, right? um all right, on to phase C: stagnation and decline.
Uh
So
oh.
we're going into the meat of it. After a period of rapid growth, the population increase slowed significantly, um, and it took up to 145 days, like we saw. This is the end of phase B, right? So, in a natural environment, some young animal leave the area when there's not enough space. This wasn't possible in this experiment because we stopped immigration, right? So all the young mice had to stay. With limited space and resources, the young mice had to compete with adults for a place in society and hierarchy. And those who lost competition withdrew from social life.
So they just like isolated themselves, like exiled themselves?
Yeah, they exiled themselves in the center of the circle,
Oh my god.
right? So male who couldn't compete became inactive and formed a large group in the center of the enclosure. These withdrawn males became aggressive towards each other, resulting in injuries. Unsuccessful females found refuge in the less desirable nesting boxes higher up in the walls.
Okay.
And due to the decline in territorial defense by males, the female with youngs had to defend their nest themselves. This aggression sometimes extended to their own babies. So basically, because the males were becoming more and more withdrawn, there was less male to help defend the territory. So the female became more
Vulnerable.
aggressive in order to defend territory themselves.
Oh.
But that aggression started to extend sometimes to their own babies.
Oh my god. Well, yeah, that happens a lot in like Animal Kingdom too. Like they end up
Mhm.
eating their own babies.
Yeah, the stress of the situation caused some of the mother to injure their young during birth, transport them to different location, or even abandon them entirely. The combined stress and social breakdown led to fewer pregnancies, more miscarriage, and higher infant mortality. I found the miscarriage part was interesting,
Yeah.
right? And then by the end of phase C, researchers argued that the social organization of the mice had completely broken down.
So, do you have like a timestamp on when phase C happened? Like how far after?
Yes, I believe I forgot to write it, but I think I can find it very quickly.
Because I did a quick Google search, and albino mice lifespan is about 2 to 3 years.
Um, Let me tell you. Well, the end of phase B was 100. Yeah, it went on for a long time because they were doubling at 55 a day for a while, right? And then they were doubling at 145 days. Let's see. I have it right here. So I lost the details of each phase, how long they lasted, but the whole experiment lasted over 920 days. So that's like
Oh,
3 years,
okay.
right?
Which is like the average lifespan. So
Yeah, and there was quite a few generations through it.
nice.
Yeah, sorry, I should have had those details, but
No, 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 you're fine.
um, we were at oh yeah, phase C. So it had completely broken down. The social organization had completely broken down. So the takeaway from this phase for the researchers was that even in an ideal environment with no predators and abundance of resource, social overcrowding can lead to competition, aggression, and decline in population growth. In the lack of space for immigration and the inability to establish a healthy social hierarchy were key factors in the collapse of mouse society in Universe 25. What do you think of this phase?
So crazy. Like
It's creepy,
360. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
What's I know that like they really warn against anthropomorphizing. I did it so well the first time. Anthropomorphizing, I think. Um, but it's really hard not to do, especially like okay, the lack of space for immigration. That's a problem that like we're gonna have to deal with soon, right?
Yeah.
As a society, as a worldwide society.
Yeah.
All right, on
Even
to
like it's so crazy that this happens in a stimulated, or sorry, simulated, not stimulated,
yeah,
a simulated utopian environment that they like too much of a good thing. That's what I'm going to say. Like too much of a
right,
good thing turns it into like a bad thing, you know?
yeah, yeah, and we'll look into possible reasons why in a short while. But first, we're gonna look at the last phase of the experiments, which is phase D for death. So, phase D, births and deaths balanced out for a short while the population size remained stable. But after a period of very few births, Reproduction ceased entirely around day 600. The remaining mice grew old and died of natural causes, with the average lifespan exceeding normal limits. The last survivor was predicted to die in May 1973. Wait, hold on. That's not 3 years then. That's two. That's 1 year. Okay. Well then,
So I guess the utopian environment isn't the best.
no. I mean, they live at a rate that is much much faster than us. But yeah, the last survivor was predicted to die. So they put end to it before they all died. But the last survivor was predicted to die in May 1973. Researchers argued that the problem began with phase C when young mice weren't properly nurtured and their social interactions were constantly disrupted due to overcrowding. So basically, young mice didn't form strong social bonds with their mothers and other adults.
Didn't.
No. Their social behavior became fragmented and underdeveloped, including courtship, parental care, and aggression.
Aww.
There was evidence from a similar experience that suggested that most female born late in phase C never reproduced, and autopsy revealed very low pregnancy rates for those females.
Well, it kind of makes sense, right? When you're seeing this overcrowded space, there's so many babies. You're like, I don't know if I want to bring something into this world. I feel like a lot of
Mhm.
people are experiencing that right now, you
I don't
know?
think
Now
that's
that it's like turning into a dystopian world that we live in,
right.
everyone's like, I don't know if I want to have kids.
Right.
So I can
Exactly.
relate with those mice.
Um, the males who didn't reproduce were called the beautiful ones because they lacked scars from fighting and focused on self care.
Oh my God. That is so, like, this is
Yeah.
a really good comparison to what's happening right now.
They never fought or attempted to mate.
They
And
worked out every day because they don't have toddlers running around.
the final generation was born in Universe 25 was largely made up of non-productive female and uh, the beautiful one males. I don't know why they didn't find a fun name for the non-productive females, but it was the 70s.
Yeah.
Even when placed in a less crowded environment after the experiment, these mice showed no sign of recovering their social skills or ability to reproduce. So even taking out of this experiment, there was no coming back. Um, the breakdown in the social behavior caused by overcrowding in phase C had lasting impacts, even when placed in better conditions. They did not recover, as I just said. And the experiment challenges the idea that small remnant population will always find a way to bounce back. So in this case, the social disruption caused by extreme density permanently damaged the population's ability to reproduce.
Interesting.
So for those generations, there was no saving them
Yeah.
because of the trauma, basically.
Yeah.
Right? So I think it's very interesting. So the study's takeaway overall, the study suggests that when social animals experience a significant reduction in death rates and overcrowding occurs, social breakdown can follow.
Interesting.
It outlines the following as the steps to social collapse. So
Social
it,
collapse.
it sounds like I'm writing like a manifesto for like
Yeah.
So reduce death rates and crowding. When mortality is low and space is limited, many young animals survive to adulthood. Then next step is competition for roles. These young adults compete with established adult for a social role, so mating rights, territory. Um, Breakdown of normal behavior. The intense competition disrupt normal social behavior in both young and old mice. Then ensued social disorganization. So established social structure and hierarchy breaks down. Rejection of the young. Mother and other adults start rejecting the young mice. Impaired social development, so young mice lack proper social bonding and experience constant social disruption.
Because there's just so many.
Fragmented behavior, so social behavior becomes simplified and underdeveloped. Loss of complex behavior, so essential behaviors like reproduction, territorial defense, and parental care fail to develop. Then loss of social spirit. The researcher used the term death of spirit to describe the inability to engage in these complex social behavior. And finally, population decline and extinction. So without reproduction, the population ages and eventually dies out.
Is that what happened?
That's what happened. So basically, the overcrowding led to competition for roles, and having no roles. So competition for roles led from for tension between old and young. Old rejected young. Young developed without proper guidance from old to develop the necessary skills that they need to live and the social skills that they need. And then they lost a spirit, which basically they can't.
Reproduce. They
Well,
don't want to.
they can't reproduce. They don't want to, and they also like because they don't have a role in society, right?
Yeah.
And then
Because
finally the
like the
decline.
adults just don't want to give it up.
Yeah.
Oh my, so it started with 8. Do we know what was like the max occupancy at a time?
Yes. I think we. No. Wait.
Like, I mean, I'm sure we could do some math and figure it out.
No,
I
no,
want
no.
to
We don't
see
have
it.
to do math and figure it out. But no, I don't have it. A lot though.
Yeah, like I want to say in the thousands, right?
Because they were doubling every 55 days, and then every so probably in the hundreds.
Insane.
Yeah. So the researcher suggests no, not the researcher. Sorry, the research suggests that this process could be relevant to human as well. The steps to social collapse. And if humans have limited opportunities to fulfill their social roles and live up to their expectations, social unrest and disruption could follow. Um,
Interesting.
this could lead to similar breakdown in social structure and decline in creativity and innovation. Um, what sorry, I'll just finish this point here. Ultimately, the author suggests that this could lead to societal collapse and even extinction. That was an author that was doing an overview of the study. It's not the researcher himself.
Okay.
So um, I have it in my sources. Sorry, I'm ill prepared today. You'll be able to see it in my sources.
Okay.
However, what I found very stressing here with the rejection of the young and the impaired social development, it feels a lot like the tension that we're having right now between like the generational tensions that we're having between like millennials and Gen Z and boomers and like
Yeah.
so I was like, oh, that's scary.
That's so wild.
Hmm.
Um, oh my god, I'm like actually like really like okay, how does it go from like a utopia to a dystopia? Like themselves, like without being any of the actual threats to mice introduced in there, you know?
Well, you
They
kind of
become
touched
threats
on
to
it
themselves.
earlier. You touched on it earlier when I asked you like, are people even work at all in your utopia that you made up? I was like, yeah, I want
Mm,
people to work. I want them to have something to do,
hmm.
right? And
Oh my
that's
god,
kind of
I'm a genius.
you're a genius, yeah. Okay. However, big caveat: this study is on mice in a very artificial environment, so it's not a direct translation to a complex human society. And the experiment focused on overcrowding, and it might not be the only factor that could lead to a social breakdown in humans. The experiment highlights the potential danger of overcrowding in social competition, and it raises the question about the importance of fulfilling societal roles and the impact of societal isolation can have on individuals and society. So the study was very popular, and it was received with both it was both acclaimed and criticized. Um, Many interpreted the experiment as a dire warning about the human overpopulation and societal collapse.
Yeah.
And the experiment was linked to concerns about societal problems in crowded cities. Now, remember, this is the 70s, right? So there was quite a few criticism. The research will receive with a lot of oversimplification and a lot of misinterpretation. So John Calhoun used terms like juvenile delinquents and social dropouts to describe the mice behavior, which is problematic because it's very intense
Yeah.
anthropomorphizing, and it's also kind of like pointing fingers at a very specific um, uh,
Group of people.
group of stigma on certain people,
Yeah.
right? Um, so that might have led to people oversimplifying the results. The experiment also coincided with a time when concerns about overpopulation and urban problems were very high. And then people started to use Calhoun's findings to fuel these fears a lot. Universe 25 experiment has been misinterpreted and misused for to support a variety of different agendas. For example, the research was misused to justify population control policies that unfairly targeted disadvantaged groups. So you could easily see how this would play into um, some policies that are very problematic. I could even see like, um, yeah, I won't get into it because it's not very pertinent, but it was misquoted and misused a lot for political agendas that were not the most inclusive, let's say.
Okay. Yeah, I feel like sure we can draw parallels to humans with it, but like human society is so different. We're
Hmm.
not in just a box, you know, where we have
Yeah.
to reproduce over and over again with nothing else to do. Like we have
Hmm.
jobs, we have hobbies and stuff like that. Where in
Yeah.
that they didn't have like, you know, they should have put like a hamster wheel in there or something like that.
Exactly. So there's definitely something to learn, but it's not a direct translation, right? And Calhoun's research focused on the impact of overcrowding on specific environment, right? Himself, he didn't view his finding as a prediction for the unevitable human social collapse. In other experiments that he did on rodents, the rodents were able to adapt to high density in some cases by creating tunnels, for example. Um, and Calhoun seemed way more interested in the results of his research on how it could be applied to improve designs of buildings to minimize negative social effects on high density buildings. So he was interested on how we could use his findings to design better prisons and design better hospitals, for example. So that's why he was interested on to see like where the groups formed and how they mirrored themselves, for example, right?
Yeah, that is
And
interesting.
right. There was also some concerns with the ethics behind this study.
Well, yeah, animal testing just to
Well,
see.
exactly,
Yeah.
right? So, um, animal testing, animal cruelty was a big one. But there was also the way the study was made, right? So the study relied on observation and interpretation of mice behavior rather than control experiment with clear cause and effect relationship. So it was just observation and uh, not a very scientific process.
Yeah.
So that increases the risk of bias and misinterpretation. Observational studies present a considerable risk for bias um, in how the results are interpreted. And critics also noted a lack of certain data. For example, hygiene in the enclosure and stress hormone levels were not measured, right?
Okay.
The experiment focused on overcrowding in a specific environment. Many human studies on crowding show mixed and inconsistent results. This we've touched on already. And the experiment didn't consider other factors that influence humans' well being in a real world society, right? So those were concerned about the ethics, but I don't think those are fair because I don't think Calhoun's goal was to apply it directly to human society in general and collapse, right?
So what was his goal, you think?
He was very interested in how to design better high density spaces,
Okay. Interesting. Okay.
from what I've read. Then animal cruelty, like we said, the the experiment suggests mice do a lot of distress and harm, and the study continued even when mice were clearly suffering with avoidable deaths. Um, so those conditions would not be allowed today due to stricter regulations on animal welfare. So we can't reproduce that study because it would just be
Good.
cruel,
There's no
right?
reason to. Yeah.
Exactly. So that's for the overview of the study Universe 25. We are reaching an end here, but I did wanted to talk about some modern relevance a little bit.
Okay.
Um, because the study has been resurfacing. I came across it in a couple of TikToks and on Instagram, and there's a lot of YouTube videos on it also. And there's a regain of interest in the study because people are drawing parallels with the advancement of AI and the concern for a future with a lesser need for human labor.
Interesting. Human labor?
Yeah.
But like AI can't do labor for us. Like,
Well, um, AI and automation, like robotics and all that, right?
okay. Okay.
Right. Well, the thing is, we're already past the point of automation. Like automation has replaced most of human physical labor,
Yeah.
but now AI is at a threat of replace is posing a threat of replacing human mental labor.
Okay. Fair. Yeah.
Um, so as we discussed, critiques argued that the experiment doesn't directly translate to humans, and that our higher intelligence, because of our higher intelligence and social complexity. However, the concept of spiritual death, the loss of purpose observed in mice, could be relevant to humans facing a future with automation. So, as you were saying in your utopia at the beginning, like people need something to do. Well, we are quickly going towards a place where we have too many people and not enough things to do, right? Not enough like purpose, quote unquote,
Yeah.
because AI could replace most of human jobs in the coming decades.
Yeah.
So this is raises the concerns about unequal distribution of wealth and power, leading to authoritarian regimes, and then people simply losing purpose and meaning in life without work.
Yeah. Fair. Like, okay, so like one example that comes up in my head is how like a lot of stores are going to self checkout as opposed to actual cashiers.
Hmm.
And like, it's always easy as like I find it easier to just go to self checkout, you know, because it's easy to avoid another social interaction, But there are people that like crave that social interaction that do go to the cashier.
Yeah, but I think less and less. I think that's something that's being trained out of people, and I don't think corporations will value keeping social cashiers around just because people like it,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? And also, it's much beyond automated checkout. You know, you can have AI create a whole marketing plan for you in a matter of seconds.
Mhm.
Those are a lot of jobs, a lot of
Yeah.
well-educated jobs, but a lot of people, jobs around people built a lot of meaning in their entire life work, right? Um, uh, you can get AI to design a poster for an event for you instead of hiring a
Yeah.
designer,
Yeah.
right? So it's more in that sense. And then they're looking to the application of AI in medicine to help find cures also.
Yeah.
So, and like
Scary.
I don't want to argue here that those are all bad things necessarily, but they're all things that we're not ready for,
Mhm. Yeah, because
right?
it sure, like when you do go to self checkout, there is that one person that needs to come, like, like check your ID if you're buying alcohol and stuff like that.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, like instead of having eight cashiers, now you have one person monitoring eight self
Yeah, and
checkouts, you
soon
know?
you'll be able to just scan your ID with the machine. No, it's more like, if there's certain things like, if AI is able to help us find some cures for disease faster than we're able to because of the computing system, why would we put a stop to that?
Yeah.
But what will we do with all the scientists who suddenly don't have a job,
Yeah, that's so scary.
right? So there's already some potential solutions that are being discussed and debated. Are you familiar with the concept of universal basic income?
No.
So, universal basic income is a proposed social program where everyone in a society received a regular, unconditional payment from the government to cover their basic needs. So, everyone has EI, for example.
Yeah, I was gonna say kind of like
Yeah.
EI.
Regardless of who they are, regardless of if they're working or not, everyone receives from the government an income sufficient for basic needs.
Interesting. Okay.
This means that everyone gets money regardless of their employment status, and this is to address directly this problem, right? Because people, we don't, we might soon run out of jobs, and still have a lot of people. It's a potential solution to the economic inequality caused by automation. It wouldn't create a free resource utopia like Universe 25, sorry, but it could provide a safety net, right? And then another big one, but a much more difficult one to achieve, I would argue, is shifting the definition of work itself. So if we move away from a narrow definition of work as just a means of survival and encourage a broader concept of work that includes personal fulfillment and creativity, it would involve recognizing activities that contribute to personal growth, creativity, and maybe even helping others as valuable forms of work, right? Here they use the term work because that's the problem that they're like that's arising, is that there's not enough work. But I think it's more about like just finding value into human beings beyond their productivity
Yeah.
and beyond their uh, monetary contribution to society.
Yeah. Which is like I feel like gonna be impossible to do, honestly.
Um, I don't know. I
Good
think
idea.
it's definitely not going to happen overnight.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's impossible. I think we're able to change and to evolve and to. I say that, and I'm not always as optimist as I am this morning, um, but yeah. So unlike the mice in Universe 25, humans can adapt and find solutions to challenges. So if okay, this is my honest thought, is that I think it's possible for things to become better and for us to adjust. I think it's going to get much worse before we get there.
Yeah. But I think at the end of the day, like we're not like mice. Like we have a bit more like emotional intelligence, I would say.
Yes, correct.
So I think
But
that plays a big factor too.
we also already see people um, having so little respect for people who don't work, or people who have very low income jobs. For
Like the
people,
rich keep getting richer.
yeah, and society celebrates and values that and elevates them to a status of superstar just because they're rich. Meanwhile, like those memes or um those things are like people keep responding like, oh, what are you, broke or something? like as like if that's like such a like insult. Those are things that I'm like, how did we get here? Why do we measure someone's success, someone's value, not their success, someone's value based on their financial status? And we're very much there. I think
Yeah.
people look down on people with less financial resource so much. And that's what we have to stop doing. We have to start valuing these people for things beyond their contribution.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Another thing, like another peril that you can't really draw from like the mice world is the fact that they don't have money, and unfortunately our society is ran by money.
Yeah.
Like money makes the world go round.
That is so funny because I almost did, instead of this episode, another study on a scientist who introduced the concept of money to chimps. And like, I won't cover it, so I'm going to give you a spoiler right now. It quickly devolved to prostitution among chimps.
Oh my god. What?
But I didn't look into it at all. This was just a reel I saw on Instagram.
Yeah.
So I don't even know if it's true, but it seemed like it was.
That's so funny. That is hilarious. I need to see more about this. We'll
Right?
have to do like a little short dive if we can, even.
Yeah. um, yeah, I think, you know, even though it's not a direct translation to human society, it's important to acknowledge the challenges that are about to arise and try to address them in time. Um, and I think we should all start doing the exercise of finding value in ourselves and those around us, that does not revolve around job and financial distribution. That's something that I did for myself a lot in the last few years. I think coming back from the pandemic, um, I I had to go through that exercise of like finding value for myself that was beyond my job, especially that I don't intend in having any children. Finding meaning for myself, and kind of like, you know, why do people want to be around me? What do they have to gain from being around me? And why will people miss me when I'm gone? And answering all these questions for myself in an honest way and in a way that I don't judge the importance and the value that I have to bring to people by just being myself and by being a good person and by being a caring person. I think it helped me a lot with some of those anxieties, you know. So I invite you all to do the same and to answer those same questions for yourself.
Yeah, I know. I think it's, yeah. I mean, I've never been that person that's been driven by money, unfortunately. Like,
Me
I wish I
either.
was sometimes.
Sorry.
But yeah, exactly. It's about what you want to do and like the passion behind it. And
Yeah, and like being a good and caring person doesn't pay, but it has a lot of value to society.
mhm, exactly.
I know that I keep those people in my life very close to me, and I find a lot of value in that. So it's just
Yeah.
those kind of things that we'll have to maybe reconsider in the future.
Yeah, exactly. And hopefully, I mean, thank you for like having things like AI, but hopefully that doesn't replace the need for humans working, you know?
I mean,
Hopefully you
the
work
reality
alongside
is,
something like that.
yeah, exactly. The reality is, it probably will. It doesn't mean it needs to be the end of the world, but we have to change the way we're doing things if it's gonna happen.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Hmm. Anyway, so that's what I had for you today.
That was so interesting. A little mice research.
I'm glad you
I'm
like.
surprised we didn't once mention cheese.
Oh.
Cheese was never talked about.
No, it would have been a bit cheesy if I did that. Uh...
Beautiful. And that on that note, thank you.
Bye, everyone. See you next week. See you in
Thanks
2
for
weeks. Sorry.
listening. See you
Yeah.
in 2 weeks. Bye.
Bye.
Tell Me Like I'm Stupid is created and produced by us, Sonia and Thomas. You can follow us on Instagram at Tell Me Like I'm Stupid.
If you'd like to support us, please subscribe and review on your favorite podcast streaming platform. Our cover art was created by Ish. Find him on Instagram at h.e.e.s.h.
Thank you for listening.